Hello and welcome to episode number 7 of Behind the Scenes of JRock's Pop Culture Revolution. How you guys all doing tonight? Well, let me tell you, in just recording tonight's episode, there is we've already got a story behind the scenes to tell you guys about that you may get a kick out of. But let me tell you, okay, um, this is the second time tonight that I am recording this episode. Okay, I attempted to record it earlier, about 30 minutes ago. I did a whole 30-minute episode, and you guys aren't going to believe this. When I when I got done recording the episode, I went to listen back to the show. But you're not going to believe this. I could not listen back because, for the simple fact, once again, and this has been happening more and more frequently, and I don't quite understand it, but when attempting to listen back to the interview, I was unable to listen to it, like I said, folks, because we had a 30-minute episode that did indeed record, but it only recorded the video. You could not hear anything I was saying. So again, right back to the drawing board. Okay, I thought, well, you can't put the show up if people can't hear it. Okay, because we want to try to inform people on what's going on. So I want you guys to know just how dedicated I am to doing this show every week, the behind the scenes show, which is our spin-off show from JRock's Pop Culture Revolution. This is where we kind of every Wednesday night we put one of these behind the scenes episodes out to remind you that Thursday morning when you wake up, there's going to be a brand spanking new episode of our show for you to check out at 8 a.m. every Thursday morning. So you can do that tomorrow morning, folks, as usual on the Fire Rock TV network. Go to Fire Rock TV YouTube page, and you will find us every Thursday, a brand spanking new episode. Okay, now let's tell you a little bit about our most recent episode that went up. Okay, now that would of course have been episode number 27 that we did on the Invisible Man. Now, Invisible Man was a fun episode to do because it's talking about a classic horror film from 1933 to be exact, and that was the age, and that was the golden age of when these monster movies and these horror movies were made, and Universal Studios back in the day, they were very famous for putting out these horror pictures and these monster type of movies. They are the studio that started it all, and everything that came after that pretty much followed what Universal Studios had started. And so, like I like to do in every episode, I look for fun facts, to kind of let you guys know about the movie, things that I think that you would be interested in. And you got to remember when The Invisible Man was made back in 1933, folks, okay? Movie making was very much in its infancy. I mean, basically, as they were making these movies, they were basically learning kind of the process of how to exactly make these movies. You got to remember, a couple of years before The Invisible Man came out, Dracula and Frankenstein, they preceded The Invisible Man. They were kind of what started these horror movie franchises. It really didn't exist before Universal Studios like put out the first Dracula movie. But if you look at even from 1931 when the original Dracula movie came out, um, movie making was very different, and even you had Dracula on the screen for most of the film, kind of in a room by himself, talking out loud to himself, but thinking out loud. But he wasn't even really conversing with too many other actors. And by the time they get to the Invisible Man, there's actually a lot more actors in the movie. There's a lot more of a storyline. And so that's a fun part about doing these episodes. And even talking about a film like The Invisible Man came out in 1933, you better believe it was in black and white. That is, of course, before they started having color films. And so that's why when you watch something like The Invisible Man that came out in 1933, you can kind of tell that it comes from that era. That it was made, during those years. And so we have a lot of fun. Pop culture. One thing I enjoy about pop culture is like a great fun way to learn about history. I mean, I used to do a previous pop culture show with my good friend Gar Boris. The show we did previously was called Gar Boris's Time Machine, and it was similar to what we're doing now, but JRock's pop culture revolution is very, very different, in what we were doing previously. I had a partner to do a show with. We bounced, we talked about, the different pop culture topics, but we used to have a segment that I really enjoyed doing called "What Was Going On in the World at that time." So for example, like if we'd done an episode on something like the Invisible Man, we might we would want people to kind of I used to want people to kind of get a an idea of what was going on in the world, maybe back in 1933. I mean, for example, we want people to kind of watch a show like this and kind of really not only learn about the topic we're talking about, but learn about history in a fun way. So for example, you might ask yourself, oh, who was the president in 1933? So we might talk a little bit about that. We might talk about what were the other popular movies at the time. So, that's a real fun way for me, like to learn about history and pop culture. I mean, there's so many aspects to doing a pop culture show. I mean, for example, we also recently did an episode on Easter Sunday. We threw out a bonus episode for you guys, and that's always fun to do. Um, and as I've shared with you, and being such a pop culture fan as I am, um, I always love the holidays, especially Christmas time. And we've discussed this because um, for example, around Christmas time, oftentimes if you watch any of our older retro TV channels like I do, such as Nick at Night, Antenna TV, Me TV, not only will they have all my favorite classic TV shows, for reruns to watch any day of a week, but like especially around Christmas time, they'll throw special like marathons of like all day happy days, you know, uh, Christmas episode marathon, and they'll put out all the Christmas themed episodes and stuff, and that's always fun because again, it reminds me of a happy time in my life. Not that I'm not happy now, but that's why I enjoy talking about this stuff because it brings back happy memories of when I first discovered stuff like Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley, Three's Company. And these are things I very much enjoy talking about. And a great example of this is like one of my all time favorite TV shows, folks, is Three's Company. I just love John Ritter. He was, anytime I saw John Ritter, and I mean, I loved him in everything he did. I mean, and the thing I got to say was really made him a great actor was while most people like me discovered him on Three's Company and loved him for his physical comedy and just, man, he could deliver those one liners. I mean, John Ritter as Jack Tripper, that will probably be the role that he's remembered for the most, But, of course, he did other things in his career. He had other TV shows, besides Three's Company. But let's be honest, none of them were as iconic as the role of Jack Tripper. That he will always be remembered as Jack Tripper. I know how I will always remember him. And, Three's Company became such a staple in my life. I mean, it's something I still enjoy watching to this day. I've seen all the episodes. I sit there. I know all the lines before the actors spit out the lines. Sometimes I'll be watching an old Three's Company episode, and I will just save a line because I've memorized each and every episode. That's what a big fan of this stuff I am. And I got to tell you, sometimes they're just TV shows, folks, and I get that, but I'll tell you one thing that even I still remember. It still affected me to this day. The death of John Ritter, man, that so broke my heart. He died tragically young. In fact, I'm about the age John Ritter is. Um, I'm talking about me now. I'm 54 years old. July 4th this year, I'm going to turn 55. So I'm about the same age John Ritter was um, when he died. But man, I tell you, every time I see him on an episode of Three's Company or anything, I start breaking out into laughter, and I think, man, how we were robbed. We lost this guy so tragically young. But look at the body of work he left, behind. And so it's funny how stuff like that affects us to this day. I mean, that's another thing. That's kind of a kind of a measurement stick, if you will, of us getting older in life. The older I get, like a lot of people, you look around, a lot of the heroes we had, not just on TV shows, but maybe musicians we grew up listening to, people that we idolize, they start dropping like flies, and you realize, oh man, all my heroes are kind of dropping one by one, and it's kind of sad to kind of realize that. But look at the great work they left behind. Look at the legacy. I mean, as sad as it is that John Ritter died tragically young, man, he left a great body of work. He's definitely never going to be forgotten. And kind of talking a little bit more about John Ritter before we move on to the next topic. I'd seen an interview like maybe 3 or 4 years ago where Richard Klein, that played Jack's best friend Larry on Three's Company, these guys really were friends in real life, and they hung out together outside of the show. And I seen an interview where Richard Klein was talking about the fact that him and John Ritter were such great friends. He said, we did stuff together outside of the show. And he said, it breaks my heart. I can't even watch the episodes of Three's Company anymore because every time I see an episode with John, I just tear up. I can't watch it. I mean, can you imagine in Richard Klein's case to be so tight with one of your co-stars that they tragically die, and man, the work you guys did together just breaks your heart to even watch it. Man, I mean, talk about the bond those two guys must have had, and so again, I look, another thing people need to know about me. I've tried to share this is a lot of the ways I get ideas for our episodes we do here is I have a huge DVD collection. Okay, I got like this is a great example. The Invisible Man. We recently did our episode went up last week, which was let me see, episode number 27. That was on the Invisible Man. Now, let's talk about what we're going to roll out tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Okay, it's going to be episode number episode number 28 on the Man Called Flintstone. Now, the Man Called Flintstone, I am a huge Flintstones fan. Now, I haven't done an episode, believe it or not, on the Flintstones yet, but we have done a couple of Flintstones like related episodes. Last Christmas we did one on a classic Flintstones Christmas movie, animated movie, Christmas special that came out like in the 1970s, I believe it was. And so we did kind of do that. We did do that Flintstones themed episode, and then the one that's going out next week is called, or excuse me, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And when I say tomorrow morning, of course, talking about Thursday, April 16th, 2026 at 8 a.m. in the morning. Folks, that's our usual time that we roll these episodes out every week on the JRock TV network. So go to JRock TV's YouTube page, and we will be there. We've got several episodes up there already. And so what this was when the original Flintstones TV show was, taken off air, the folks at Hanna-Barbera that put out the Flintstones, they wanted to kind of see where would be the next step that they could take the Flintstones. They wanted to see what will people go see a Flintstones animated movie in the theater. So what they did to kind of test that is in 1966 they released this movie called The Man Called Flintstone, which was basically a musical slash kind of Hanna-Barbera's attempt at just imagine if Fred Flintstone was James Bond or an international spy. Well, in this animated movie from 1966, it did indeed play in theaters. Hanna-Barbera makes that attempt. They say, okay, and Fred Flintstone is not an international spy. He is not a James Bond type, but he's mistaken for one in this movie, and he goes along with it and gets all kinds of fun adventures that you can imagine. All, all kinds of crazy scenarios. Okay, another fun aspect of the movie, it's actually a musical. A lot of these heavy musical numbers that you would see in a musical. Fred Flintstone is actually singing these musical type themes, and it's just hilarious. I was cracking up all the way through. And again, this is something out of a norm you would not see in a typical Flintstones, 30-minute episode of the classic TV show. Quite different, but that's what made it so much fun. So that'll be rolling out tomorrow morning. Now, just to give you guys a little more, I like to kind of end each of these episodes letting people know what's coming up next. So next week when we do episode 29, it'll be on the talking about the 50th anniversary of the debut Aerosmith album. Can you believe it's 50 years since Dream On first came out? Oh my God, Mama Can, we'll be talking about all of that. Well, Aerosmith recently put out a special 50th anniversary of a debut album. And I believe it's a 2-disc set. So we will be talking all about the special deluxe edition of that album that recently came out. And it's going to be a lot of fun, no doubt. Also, that's another fun aspect of our show. We like to let you know what's coming up, in the next episode, like I just did, but we also take great pride in making each episode so different. I mean, we could do we could just do pop culture show talking about all my favorite rock bands, all my favorite rock albums, but I think that would get boring really, really quick. So, like we talked about previously about 30th anniversary edition of Van Halen's Balance album came out, final album to feature Sammy Hagar. That was a fun episode, but it took it took um, it took 2 episodes to kind of really talk about that because it was such a great 30th anniversary edition of that album, and I just had so much fun looking back on it, and so people really seem to enjoy that. But like I said, so like we've done an episode on the Flintstones, we've done an episode on the Easter Beagle, Charlie Brown. Down the line, we're going to be doing more and more episodes on some of my favorite classic TV shows, favorite classic movies. Again, so this is all pop culture stuff to talk about, but that's what makes a show like this so fun and interesting because there's so much to talk about. And as I share with you guys, I got a huge DVD collection. I can't tell you how. I got like three. I got to take a picture of it sometime. Just people won't. I have probably over at least 200 or 300 titles. And I've had friends and people in my family come over. Why are you still buying DVDs and Blu-rays? Nobody else is doing it. Well, I don't care what everybody else is doing. That's how passionate I am about this stuff. I love the fact that if I wanted to do an episode on the Invisible Man like this, I can pull it out and watch it because that's another great thing about these episodes I do. I will, if it's been years since I've seen the movie, I'll whip out my DVD or Blu-ray and I'll watch it prior to doing the episode. So it's fresh in my mind. So when I talk about it, I know exactly what I'm talking about. And it helps me in coming up with stuff to talk about, during the 30-minute episode. But it also shows that I'm passionate about what I talk about. People tell me, hey, everybody's streaming. I had a guy at work tell me, Jason, I used to love going to the movies too, but I don't go to movies anymore. I just stream everything. I watch all the new movies on streaming. Well, that's great, but you know what? I still like to go out personally and have that theater experience. It gets me out of the house. It's just something fun to do. It's something that I still enjoy doing. So I want you guys to know. And I think I shared with you guys tonight that this is my second time actually recording this episode tonight because I recorded it 30 minutes ago, watching it back, and man, it had plenty of video, but no audio. You cannot hear a single word I say. But you know what? It's kind of it's a funny thing to kind of talk about because man, I was so proud of the episode I did. But you know, maybe these things happen for a reason. I'll tell you what I'm talking about is when the first episode I recorded tonight of this. I thought we haven't seemed like we're having technical difficulties, so I should have been so surprised when the audio didn't record because what happened was usually like I hit record and it'll tell you it's recording, but I didn't see it for some reason. It wasn't showing me that it was recording, and then I realized it was recording. Oh, okay, let's start the show. But in fact, I think by doing the second episode, the episode came out even better. So maybe it was God's way of telling me I needed a practice session. I don't know, but we take great pride in doing this show and trying to do our best to entertain you. So tune in tomorrow morning, April 16th, 2026 at 8 a.m. on JRock TV for our latest episode, which, folks, is, of course, as I said, episode number 28. It's all about the man called Flintstone. I'm Jason JRock Houston. I hope I've entertained you. We will see you all again real soon. Bye for now.